Welcome to episode 16.1, Proper Reducing of Per Diem.
In this episode, you will learn about key terms associated with proper reducing of per diems. By the end of this episode, you will learn the following. Key terms associated with the topic of per diem. The following symbols draw your attention to a particular point or topic. The red circle and exclamation point denotes a very important point. The yellow caution triangle denotes a safety note warning that failure to heed the point will likely cause significant issues. The blue exclamation point and banner denotes a best practice. And the blue binoculars denote a case study used to further explain or provide an example. Per diem allowance, commonly referred to as per diem or subsistence allowance, this is a daily payment instead of reimbursement for actual expenses for lodging, meals, and related incidental expenses. Expense types, a way to categorize travel expenses, including subcategories, so they may be managed in travel and financial systems for accounting and payment purposes. Civilian Board of Contract Appeals, CBCA, the adjudicating body, comprised of judges, that settles appeals of disallowed travel expenses. A similar body for uniformed service members is the Defense Office of Hearings and Appeals. Reduced per diem. A reduced per diem rate applies when there are known reductions in lodging and meal costs or when subsistence costs can be determined in advance and are lower than the prescribed per diem rate. Food costs. The cost to purchase from supermarkets common food staples used in preparing meals at home, used to determine per meal, daily, monthly and annual food costs. Known economic conditions, the verifiable, data-based conditions or circumstances at the temporary duty location that would establish a basis for reducing per diem. Furnished meal, a meal provided to an employee, either directly from the government or through a government-paid cost, for example, a registration fee for a conference or other event. If the government has already paid for a meal, then the employee must deduct the allocated amount when filing their travel voucher. Continental United States, CONUS, the 48 contiguous states and the District of Columbia. CONUS per diem rates are set by the Administrator of General Services. Non-foreign areas, the states of Alaska and Hawaii, the Commonwealths of Puerto Rico and the Northern Mariana Islands, Guam, the U.S. Virgin Islands, and the territories and possessions of the United States, excluding the trust territories of the Pacific Island. Per diem rates for non-foreign areas are set by the Secretary of Defense. Foreign area, any area, including the trust territories of the Pacific Islands, situated both outside CONUS and the non-foreign areas. Per diem rates for foreign areas are set by the Secretary of State. What is an expense type? A. An allowance paid to an employee for sustenance. B. A method for determining which travel expenses may be reimbursed. C. A way to categorize travel expenses, including subcategories, so they may be managed in travel and financial systems for accounting and payment purposes. D. A way to categorize travel expenses, including subcategories, to allow payment of per diem allowances and travel advances. Pause the video, consider your response, and then resume to learn the answer. The correct answer is C. A way to categorize travel expenses, including subcategories, so they may be managed in travel and financial systems for accounting and payment purposes. What is the term for the verifiable conditions or circumstances at the temporary duty location that would establish a basis for reducing per diem? A. Anecdotal circumstances. B. Supervisory discretion. C. Economic data and circumstances. D. Known economic conditions. Pause the video, consider your response, and then resume to learn the answer. The correct answer is D. Known economic conditions. When does reduced per diem apply? A. When the designated approving official knows that the cost for subsistence at TDY location is less than the prescribed per diem rate. B. When there are known reductions in lodging and meal costs or when subsistence costs can be determined in advance and are lower than the prescribed per diem rate. C. When the prevailing economic conditions warrant the reduction of lodging and meal costs because sustenance costs are lower than prescribed by the General Services Administration. D. When lodging costs are less than the rate prescribed by the General Services Administration, the State Department, or the Department of Defense. Pause the video, consider your response, and then resume to learn the answer. The correct answer is B. When there are known reductions in lodging and meal costs or when subsistence costs can be determined in advance and are lower than the prescribed per diem rate. Congratulations! You have completed this episode. Thank you for participating.
The next episode is episode 16.2, Proper Reducing of per diem.